Formula Regional Series is out, and in its place we have Formula X, a brand new racing series. Drivers old and new, and welcome along everybody to the first round of the season. We're here in Australia, 19 drivers taking to the grid. We've got some old favourites from Formula Regional Series. We've got some fresh faces as well. It's time to see what we can do. F1 24 finally on the new game. A fresh start for Formula X, and I tell you what, Jensen is getting a lovely tow from that Haas as they go down into turn 1. Keith's the only Haas, well, not the only Haas, the second Haas out today. Keith's on his outlap, and that was Smoking Cheese, a former fan favourite. Race winner, of course, in Formula Regional Series, but none of those records count anymore. As today we will find out not only who takes the first pole position of the new series, but who wins the first Grand Prix. Still currently on board with Jensen. He won't be the first to set a lap, but I'm sure it will be quick. That has finally getting out of the way. No longer has he got that burden in front of him. That Mercedes, silver and black this year, that 50-50 livery. There's a yellow flag in Sector 1, but I believe that's probably just somebody getting out of the way. Either that or they've had a little moment. It is the Alpine, I believe. Coming around the final few corners of the last sector now. Anthrax Robin sets the first time of the day, the 117.2. And what can Jensen do as he comes across the line? Yes, he beats that by 2/10. 117 flat is where we are at the moment. But that's all Jensen's done so far. Smoking Cheese are way off. Obviously, he got out the way, I think, of Jensen. Either that or he just backed off. He didn't think the lap was coming to him, but he will go again now. Obviously, that lap is not representative of his pace in this league, and he will go again. We'll see what he can do. And I wonder now, in the absence of Track Racer, if he will be able to try and take the title this year. But obviously, with a different game, he could be quicker, he could be slower. We'll have to wait and see, of course. Obviously, a very, very different handling model this season, which had a lot of changes to the last game. It had a lot of revisions as well since it's come out. And I think now they've finally found sort of a middle patch where the car now feels very good to drive, but it doesn't feel like an absolute rocket ship as Owen moves into P3 with the 117.8. It's a little bit wide from Smoking Cheese, but he's kept the lap valid as he comes round the final corner now. Will he be the first man to break through into the 116s? He probably will, as there's some front wing debris all over the place. No, Cheese with the 117.2 doesn't get there as of yet. JD coming out on the Inters, the only person to do that. I don't believe we've got an Inter Championship so far this season. It may be something implemented later on down the line. If you do join us in the coming weeks to watch the Formula 2 action, there will be an Inter Championship there. Here's IMR Steve, the other Mercedes out on track at the moment. Mercedes with Jensen and Steve will be looking to have a decent result, not just in this Grand Prix, but in the championship as a whole. Obviously, Jensen, a quick driver. He's been here for a while. And we've got the likes of Alfie in the Williams. He is very quick on his day. He is capable of being a race winner. Sometimes it just doesn't come to him. It's all dependent on the track and his setup, really. Currently on his out lap. Nobody else on a flying lap. So everyone that sets a lap are the only ones on a lap at the moment. I think he's got the Ferrari of Tom YSK, who is in front of him, who will be the next driver to set a lap time. So we'll ride on board with the Ferrari driver then as we take you through a lap of Albert Park. So into turn 1, you don't want to take too much off, especially when you run wide on the exit, and it can be very, very slippery on the rears. That's why you want a lot of rear downforce at this track. And then breaking down into the other part of this first sector, you want to make sure you clip that apex, and again, clip the apex on the left hand side. Don't take too much and don't run over that sausage curb on the right hand side through here. You want to take it flat, which the Ferrari does, and then it's a quick one shift down through into this right hander, and then we're down this long straight that has been modified over the last few years to ensure more overtaking. This is where you open it up. Maybe use a little bit of overtake mode, which is a new challenge that these drivers have to face this year. When you use your overtake mode for the ERS down the lap, and then finally this rapid left and right. Taking a little bit too much curve on the inside there, run a little bit wide, but now we're into the much slower paced final sector. You want to brake late, you don't want to miss your mark though. Just about clips the apex, he does well, use up all the curb on exit, and then one more right-hander to go before this very, very tricky braking zone. If you dip a wheel into the grass, you're all over the place, and then you go into the final corner now. It's all about getting that perfect exit for the front straight, straighten the car up. And what can the Ferrari do? Currently P13 without setting up. Comes across the line. P6 does Tom with a 118.1. And Alfie 2/10 in front of him with a 1 minute 17.9. And Smoking Cheese has arrived at the party 0.04 of a second quicker than Jensen. So he's not done it by much. But a 1:17 dead. And that's as close to dead as you're likely to see. F1 Mad on the mediums comes in with a 1 minute 17 flat. That's a really, really quick lap for a man on the medium compound tyres. And granted, Smoking Cheese did complete his lap on very old softs. So it would have been past his best. The fact that F1 Mad can set a lap as close to the soft tyre runners as that on a set of mediums, that will set off some warning flags for everyone else as Glock comes across the line, and he is finally the first man to move into the 1 minute 16s in this qualifying. A 1:16.7 for him in the Alpine. He could be a dark horse in this race. As we ride on board with Myth, what can he do? We know how much pace that man has. We know how much talent he's got. We saw it in Formula Regional Series, but he's invalidated his lap again, and I reckon that'll be a recurring theme here today in Melbourne. The way you drive this circuit, it's a hybrid circuit, half street circuit, half purpose-built track. So the way you drive, you've got to be paint to paint, using absolutely every inch of the tarmac. That's the only way you're going to be quick round here. And especially coming into that third sector is where we're going to see drivers through that quick left-right chicane, where we're going to see drivers going across the lines. And there is a Alpine that's made a little bit of a mistake there. It is Glock. He's either made the mistake or he's backed off. I believe it may have been the first one. Yeah, but there are cars going through. Tullux in P2 at the moment in the other Aston Martin with a 16.8. So he got pretty close to Glock. So these two fresh faces upsetting the old guard at the moment. But obviously they will be straight back out with fresher sets. And Josh Owen, that is the first meaningful lap of the qualifying session. With 8 minutes to go, Josh Owen comes in and blitz the competition by about 0.5 of a second, a 1:16.2. So it is possible, and we could get into the 1 minute 15s if possible. Then if that's what Josh is doing, surely others will follow suit. It's a brilliant lap from Josh Owen, absolutely. And we've got Spider and Rodrigo still yet to settle up. So we'll follow Rodrigo here as Spider had invalidated his lap time. But that was a superb lap from Josh Owen, who boosts himself right up into provisional pole position. And that is a big statement. It's very much a, that's what I've got, what can you all do in response type of lap. Josh Owen, obviously, one of the favourites for the championship this year. He's got it in him. He stole the championship off Track Racer in the final race on the old game on F1 23 in one of the craziest final races you will ever see. Here's Owen FC in the Red Bull, currently P9 with a 1:17.8. But I'm sure he knows he can improve on that. And he's 1/10 up in the first sector. But if there's room for improvement elsewhere, then he's got the rest of the lap to try and find it. Coming through the second sector, and he's 3/10 up at the moment on his previous best. So it's not a bad lap so far from Owen. If he keeps this going And if he gets a little bit more improvement in this final sector, we could see him challenging somewhere near the top 6. But he has to keep it together through this last sector in that Red Bull. His teammate F1 Mad currently in P6. He set that lap on the medium tyre, of course, remember. What can Owen do to match? Can he get anywhere closer on the softs? We'll see. One final corner. It looks relatively neat. He's not used up all the track possible. But the back end was glued to the floor. And he comes across the line. It's a 1:17.2. And he moves himself into position 8 so far. With 5 minutes left to go in the session. This is sort of the dead point on track. And it will get a little bit deader while we wait for the drivers to come out and set their final flying lap. As the RB goes past. It wasn't Anthrax Robin. It was his teammate Spider. But we'll go on board with Anthrax Robin. No, he's invalidated his lap. And Smoking Cheese has retired from the session. So has Owen. I'm sure there wasn't a coming together there. Obviously, we get some word as to why they've retired. Of course, we'll let you know. I wonder if it's a tactical decision by Smoking Cheese, potentially wanting to save the soft tyres for later on. We've got another car retiring. I wouldn't be surprised if we've had a word from the league admins. If there's a bit of an issue with the lobby, we'll have to wait and see. As soon as I get word, of course, I will give it to you. To Lux, another driver retiring. So whether they're all just saving their tyres or not, I don't know. But I'd assume that there's been a call for drivers to retire. But for now, we will continue going. Obviously, there are still some drivers out on track. A lot of drivers still in the pits who are yet to retire. It might just be that those guys didn't think they could improve on that lap at all. And are happy to sit for the remainder of the session. So here's JD on a lap. Still yet to set one. A representative time anyway. A 1:43.7 is his best so far. Which is obviously nowhere near his actual pace. It's the same with Spider. He will be far quicker than that already. 10 seconds up in that first sector. JD is quick on his day. He will definitely be hoping for points as a minimum today. But first, he's got to get the lap right in qualifying. And in qualifying, it's okay. If you don't get the lap right and you start at the bottom, it's okay. Because you've got the whole Grand Prix, of course, to try and improve. As there was a massive twitch through that left-right chicane. He did very, very well to control it there. Big save by JD in the Alpine. But as I was saying, in qualifying, it's fine. You've got a chance to make up for it in the Grand Prix. But in the race, if you start racking up those penalties, 3 warnings, 3 strikes and you're out system, that's a 3-second time penalty. And they will rack up. And we've seen it before, drivers losing the Grand Prix simply because they had far too many penalties as JD comes across the line with a fair lap of a 1:17.7. It did the job. As F1 Mad is the next driver to retire. So I do wonder if they are just saving some softs for the Grand Prix. Glock retires as well. Josh Owen's still in the pit. So I wonder what is going on. I'm not too sure that we're going to have this final shootout for pole position then. If all of the top 6 bar Josh Owen have retired from the session. Like I said, as soon as I get word, I will let you know. But I don't think so. I'm fairly sure that those drivers are doing it purely tactical. It's full qualifying. There we go. Should have brushed up on why. That's what we were doing. However, that means we draw our attention then to the bottom half of the grid. See, 15 drivers will go through. Hence why all of the retirements. And this is Dan Richards. That makes this lap very, very crucial now for him in that Ferrari. We'll see what he can do. He takes a lot of curb on the inside there. But if it means he's going to go quicker, then surely he will take it. Currently in P16. He'll be the first person eliminated. But if he opens a rear wing and gets a good enough drive down to the start-finish line. No, it's a 1:19.1. So obviously that lap was nowhere near what he needed. He may go again here potentially, but a whole second down. He must have made a mistake. But the final flying laps then. For at least 4 of our drivers. The final flyers in this session with 15 to go. We're starting to see them warm up, raring to go for that final lap. I don't know what's happened to JD here. I think he's just getting right out the way. But it could be an issue. Currently P13. He's not going to get to the line in time here, surely. No, he's not. Session is eliminated. JD currently in P13. Tom goes across the line in P14. Rolling wheel, sorry, cannot beat anything. He's currently in P17 at best, so he is out. JD, like I said, P13 at best. That may not be enough. And Dan Richards, as we see it, said 7 seconds off there, but sometimes that can play tricks on you. That may be incorrect. We'll have to wait and see. No. He's a way off. He's going very slowly, so Dan Richards will be eliminated. What about Spider? It's Lee is safe for now, unless Spider can find something in this middle and final sector. He's not got it together so far. Around 2.5 seconds off Rolling Wheel, who is in P18. He must find some time, surely. 2 tenths up in the middle sector. That's a big old moment in the RB car. He just about saved it, but it will lose him some time as we go into this third sector. He just needs to keep it neat, and he needs to keep it quick. What can he do? Currently P19. FaZe Walker joining the session. He's too late, so he will start at the bottom of the grid. But what about Spider? What can he do in this final sector? He's really fighting the car. So many corrections as he goes through the final corner. Is it enough to move into Q2? No, it's not. P17 for Spider, and that's all she wrote for him. Which means that we will lose FaZe Walker, Rolling Wheel, IMR Steve, Spider, and Dan Richards. Missing out by less than 1/10 of a second. So it's Lee, who just about gets through. The midfield maestro, obviously former Hash driver, gets himself into Q2. Italy very much is Mr. Consistent. back underway then in qualifying 2. We will decide who makes it into the top 10 shootout, which is now 15 minutes away. And we've had word, as you can see in the chat, there may be rain in Q3, which will make things very, very interesting and could really shake up the top 10, whoever get there, because some drivers are just quicker. Yes, as I was saying, rain in Q3 could make things very, very interesting in that final top 10 shootout. It also means that the drivers won't be afraid to use their tyres more. I'd assume, because we've not had any word. It will probably be dry in the Grand Prix, which will mean they're happy to spend all of those intermediates if they need a quick tyre, as Jensen, a 4-wheel slide through the final corner, comes across the line. What sort of lap does he set? An 18.2 and then a 17.5 straight away by Smoking Cheese. So it's not the best lap from Jensen, and he's very much able to improve on that. Tom moves into P2 as well with a 1:17.9, so steady so far, but obviously they've still got 10 minutes left of this session. So both Alfie and Keiths have been validated, so they've decided to go back into the pits. What about Anthrax Robin? We'll see what he can do as he opens a rear wing. And across the line to only P4, a 1:19.1. It wasn't a great lap, and Glock, the first driver into the 1:16s in this session. 16.9, which is a pretty solid lap. That'll be... probably should be good enough to get him through to Q3, but obviously the driver's going to start turning it up, and there's a Haas that's made a mistake in that third sector, and it was Smoking Cheese, but he's back underway again now, so this lap isn't going to be representative, and he's run wide as well, but he'll go again for sure. We'll see what he can do. Cheese will be happy with getting through to this session on one set of tyres. He would have liked to have done it on one lap, like Jensen and Josh Owen and co did. And a 17.5 for Smoking Cheese that he's got at the moment. Oh, there's almost a collision there. I think they just avoided each other. There was a Williams and an Alpine and an RB going past as well. Very, very close to some contact, and I'm sure the stewards will be looking at that after the qualifying session and after the race. It could be a potential grid penalty or a sporting penalty during the Grand Prix to be dished out. Rodrigo in P3 at the moment with a 17.6, just behind Smoking Cheese. Isley is on a lap as well in the McLaren. We'll see what he can do, narrowly getting through to Q2. He's one of those drivers, if he's at the correct circuit for him, he's definitely got a chance to make it into Q3. It could be a tough ask for him here today, but we'll see what he can do as he goes through this second sector. What is the split as we come through? 45.1 for now. He's got that final third sector still to come before he sets his lap. It's important, especially in Q2. You want to set a solid banker, which gives you a good enough chance you can push on your final lap rather than not being solely focused on just getting a lap in. Rounding the final corner, it's looked pretty neat and tidy for Isley. A little bit of a squirm on the rear as he goes across the line, but it looks like it's going to be in the 118s, just a 118 flat for Italy, and it puts him in P6 for now, just in front of Jensen and Anthrax Robin. JD is also on a lap in that Alpine. No, he's not. He's invalidated. So it's a bit of a dead period at the moment. People either on outlaps or in the pits or have just finished their lap. We'll ride on board with Anthrax Robin. We'll see the first sector split. Oh, he's just set a lap, and I don't think this is going to be the lap. It's a double lock-up on the front. And he was not in control of that car as he went to turn in. I don't even think he got a touch of the grass or anything like that. It wasn't that. I think he just completely lost control of the car going into the corner, and he's invalidated the lap for good measure. He was very lucky not to completely lose it and go into the wall. He did well there. He did very well, did Anthrax Robin. He's currently sat P8. He will have time to set another lap. What can Myth do then? Very, very quick in Q1 was enough to get through fairly comfortably in that Aston Martin. His teammate looks on an outlap as well. Aston Martin really could be dark horses this championship. Two very fast drivers, and if they can consistently get themselves into the top 10, into the top 5, it's solid points, and it will rack up. Because there will be some teams, obviously this is not to go against anyone's pace, but there are some teams which do have star drivers compared to their teammate. There will be some guys who are constantly fighting for wins, and some guys who will only be squabbling for fringe points if things go their way. It's just the nature of our league. But Myth running very, very wide. It would have lost him some time. He's not invalidated, of course. He did well to stay wide enough to not invalidate, to not go over those white lanes properly. A little bit of a lock-up on that left front as he went through the second to last corner. But apart from that, it looks pretty neat. And it looks pretty quick as well. Despite the mistake, it will be in the 116s, and it's more than pretty quick. It's 116.2. It's a very, very fast lap from Myth. And that will be all he needs to do in this session. Josh Owen in P2 for the 1 minute 16.3. A 10th behind, which isn't bad at all. If you are new here as well, by the way, welcome. Thank you very much for coming. And Smoking Cheese sets a 116.1. It's a very good welcome present from him. Nice lap as Jensen finally does improve. A lap prior gets a 16.5. If you are new, first off, welcome. But if you are wondering why we've got a Haas in P1 and an Aston Martin in P2, these cars are equal performance, which is the same for quite a lot of F1 leagues. So they're equal performance just to ensure that it's purely about driver skill. I'm sure in a season or two's time, as the league grows in its new name, with the new branding, we will implement a realistic performance branch of our league. It's always something we've been looking into. So that adds a challenge of its own, you know, and driver transfers are all the more important in that one, with team bosses and the like. So it adds a new dynamic, but this one's purely about the racing. As Glock goes into P5 with 116.5. But yeah, we believe as a league it is fairer to have all the cars equal performance. Just to see who is the quickest driver on the day and over the course of the championship. But it is also brilliant because you get starting positions and you get results that you just won't see in real life. You know, you won't be familiar with. For example, an Alpine in the top 5 and a Haas and an Aston Martin locking out the front row at the moment. So yeah, it just makes it a little bit more interesting. Interestingly as well, at the bottom of the standings, 4 drivers still yet to set a lap. So JD obviously struggled. We're riding on board with Keiths here as he crosses the line. Currently P13 and only goes up to P11. So that will not be enough to see him through into the third part of qualifying. And I don't know if he's got enough time to get back into the pits. You know, 3.5 minutes on the clock. He might do if he absolutely flies back, which, well, he's not doing really. think he's backed off a little bit. Yeah, he's backed off a lot. So at the moment, it's not enough for him to go through. So unless he's got enough fuel in the car just to slowly go round and not kill his tyres, if he's got enough in the tyres as well for a second lap, then it's okay. But at the moment, worrying signs for Keiths. He would have been looking to get into Q3. Here's JD then. This could be his one and only lap of the session. He needs to get it right, and he knows that. And this is the issue. We're not getting your banker down. You know, for those front runners, they had that first lap, and that's all they needed to do. And if they needed to push a little bit more, they could, just to be safe. But JD's not even got a lap on the board. So not only could he miss out on Q3, he's currently sat P15. So this lap will be less about trying to be blisteringly quick, and more about just making sure he gets a lap on the board that potentially will see him through. A little bit of a lock-up as he went into the right hand, and he took plenty of curb. He takes plenty of curb there. Very, very lucky not to invalidate the lap, but he is going strong so far as we go through this first sector. 26.6. We've seen quicker, but it doesn't matter. He's not going to get any quicker. A huge mistake coming out of the fast right-hander. He must have touched the curb, and it's gone all wrong for JD. We were just saying it's going to be 0 or 0 for him because he didn't get those laps in before. He's had a massive, massive mistake, and he's gone straight into the wall. He's lucky that he's not lost a wheel, but it won't matter because he will have to limp back to the pits. He won't get back out in time. JD will be starting in P15. It's a massive shame for him. He just didn't get it right in this qualifying session, but it was a huge, huge error, a massive impact. And it's impacted his chances of points today as well. Alfie in P13 would have driven past that. I wonder if he's lifted off. Probably not. We know Alfie. He goes absolutely hell for leather. The track map is saying purple through the middle sector. Not too sure whether that's correct or not, but it is quick. And if he can keep it together and keep it neat for this third sector, there's not really any places now where you can bin it in this final sector. All the tricky bits are out the way. It's just about keeping that car within the white lines, which is what he's done. And he'll use overtake, as you can see on the bottom of that steering wheel, as he goes across the line. His P8, it's enough for now, but there are drivers behind that will want to be improving. A 117.4 is a decent lap for Alfie, but there are drivers behind with 30 seconds left in this session who are going to try and go through, the likes of which include It's Lee. Owen does not set a lap, so he's staying in P14 then. He retires from the session, so does JD. This is about It's Lee, Keiths and Anthrax Robin. Can they improve? It's Lee is 7 tenths up on his current best, and that will be enough to see him ahead of Alfie. This is going to be very, very close at the moment. Tom YSK in the drop zone. He's improving, but only marginally. He's 8 tenths up on his PB right now. What about Anthrax Robin? It says purple through the middle sector. He's not come up with his split. We'll see what he can do, though. A massive mistake from It's Lee, and that could be his chances of going through out the window, and it is. He dives into the pits. That could have been the lap for It's Lee. It looked like the lap. He was a second up on his PB. He hit the curb. He got it all wrong. Keith dives into the pits. He doesn't think he's doing enough. It's all about Anthrax Robin now. It's Anthrax and Tom. It's one of the two will get sent down. It could even be Rodrigo. Anthrax Robin across the line. It is enough. P7 for him. A great lap as Tom pulls into the pits. He's not going to improve. And it doesn't matter what lap time Rodrigo's setting because he is through. But what a lap from Anthrax Robin at the last. All of his opponents fell by the wayside. Mistakes were made left, right and centre. JD crashed into the wall. It's Lee hit the curb in the final sector after doing all the hard work. He got through the difficult part of the track. And he made a mistake where it's easiest. He hit the curb and then the other drivers just couldn't find the lap time. Anthrax Robin makes his way into Q3 with a pretty solid lap as well, and he'll be able to compete in Q3. But obviously we saw those mistakes on a dry track. If this rain does come down, it's going to be a very, very interesting third part of qualifying. It could even make it easier for them because in the dry, you're absolutely on the brink. Absolutely rapid. It's dry at the moment from what we can see. But this may mean that the drivers are getting out as quick as they can to settle up before the rain gets in. It does look relatively grey. It's been looking greyer and greyer as the sessions continued. Unfortunately, the F1 game's not great. For broadcasters like yourself, we're not able to see the weather report and stuff like that. We're not able to see certain things that would make our lives much easier and make the viewers' experience much better. It's a shame that we can't. However, it does add to the mystery, and considering how quickly a lot of these drivers are going out on track, it must mean that the rain will be coming down later. So although we won't have it at the end of the session, this adds a lot of jeopardy to right now, because these guys are going to have one chance, really, if this rain does come, one lap to get it right. And it's about risk and reward. What do you want to do? If you go for absolutely everything you've got, you can grab pole position. However, at the same time, you could bin it in the wall. We saw that in the last session with JD. And I'll tell you what, it doesn't look massively grey out on track at the moment. So I wonder if the rain might not come. It may hold out. Oh, Josh Owen, I'm sure he almost hit the wall there on his warm-up. No, it's just very aggressive warming up of his tyres. And the first man to set a lap then will be Jensen, and we'll ride on board with him as he goes down the front straight. Another addition to this year. We used to be able to see on their steering wheels their levels of ERS and fuel and whatnot, but they've blacked that out, of course. I'm assuming that's because if you have a spectator giving the other driver giving another driver on the grid some advice or whatever. However, we can whip up the telemetry, but it was nice to see on the steering wheel. But anyway, back to this lap. It's been a pretty solid first sector for Jensen so far. The rear has seemed stable. Jensen has seemed fairly quick as well through this left right-hander. This is a real test. Oh, the tiniest of lifts. He did really, really well there to keep the speed. And the car is absolutely glued to the track. Jensen with a very quick lap so far. Well, it looks it anyway. A little bit of a slide through there. He just lost some grip. He didn't lose control of the car. He just took a little bit too much speed into there. Through the final sector. And, well, I was just about to open my mouth and say he's got to be careful not to do the same thing that It's Lee did. And he did exactly that. That lap for Jensen out the window, and it looked quick. What about Josh Owen then? His first lap in Q3. A 1:16 flat. That's the closest we've got to the 15s. A very, very fast lap for Josh Owen. Sulux behind him goes through with a 1:16.5. It's Alfie with a 1:17.5. Anthrax Robert across the line. 16.3. Repeated by Glock straight after. 1:16.3 as well. Rodrigo on a lap. So is F1 Mad. And we'll wait to see their laps. F1 Mad is invalidated at the last there. What a shame for him. But Rodrigo then coming across the line. We'll see what he can do. 1:14, 15, 16. He's not going to be close to pole. He's not really going to be close to anything up there at the moment. But it's a 1:17.6. Only a tenth off Alfie as it stands. But Josh Owen currently absolutely schooling the competition that he's got among him. F1 Mad may go for another lap, but he's invalidated straight away. So with 7 minutes to go in this session then, It is advantage Josh Owen. So then with just under 5 minutes to go, we're starting to see some drivers come out for their final flying lap. It looks like the rain is going to be held off here. And Smoking Cheese is out very, very early with 4 minutes to go. Currently sat on the front row, 1/10 behind Josh Owen as it stands. As he comes through the middle sector, this lap isn't competitive. He will go again. Of course, I would expect nothing less from Smoking Cheese. Obviously, a very, very fast driver. We've got Anthrax Robin, Glocks, and Tulux as well, all coming out on their final flies, which have they've begun very, very early. To be fair to them, Smoking Cheese retires. Well, I wonder what happened there. Has he hit the wall? I'm not too sure. He may have just pulled into the pits thinking that he can't get any better. I really don't know. But Glocks invalidated his lap. What a shame. And he immediately backs out of the way for Anthrax Robin to go through. It's a fair play for him. So the first final run in Q3 will go to Anthrax Robin. I don't think... Well, saying that, it might be close enough for pole. You just don't know at the moment. Only 3/10 away from Josh Owen. Surely a 3/10 improvement is possible round the final corner. He looks pretty good on the Delta at the moment. He's got time as well to reset if he needs to go again across the line. And he does take pole. For now, with 3 minutes in the session, the first man in the 1:15s. Anthrax Robin takes to the top step. He's the first one to do so at the moment. Tulux obviously invalidated his lap. Rodrigo is on an out lap. And we'll watch them as they start their new laps. We'll ride on board with Tulux. What a lap from Anthrax Robin. He may have some time to go again, but even if he doesn't, that puts him in brilliant stead. And it does look like the rain has held out. I don't think it's going to come. So it's all going to be about the dry weather pace. What is Tulux going to do? Coming through this first sector. Has he improved on his time? We'll have to wait and see. Yes, he's half a tenth up. It's not a lot, but if you chip that down, it will get there somewhere. There's plenty more time to be found in the second and final sector. Currently, P6 is Tulux. At the moment, he will look to improve. 5 tenths away from Josh Owen on the front row. He's found a little bit more time, but still not bucket loads. As it stands, it's not going to be enough to improve his position. Currently on a 16.5. If he can get into those low 1 minute 16s, he could have a great chance of a top 4 or a top 5 at this Grand Prix. Currently on the third row of the grid, coming around the final corner. He tips himself up well to have a very good exit, but I don't think his delta is going to allow for him to make any sort of meaningful improvements. It's 2 tenths up. It's a P5 at the moment for Tulux. A good little lap for him. What about Rodrigo? As he comes across the line, it's only P7 with a 1:16.9, and I don't think he's going to have enough time to get round and have another cooldown lap. So unless this is a flying lap now, he's not going to have anything else to show for it. Josh Owen on an outlap as well. So is F1 Mad. Those two could be in prime position for pole position. I've got Glock on an outlap as well. But we'll ride on board then with F1 Mad for his lap. We'll see what he can do. His one and only shot at pole in this third qualifying session. It's go home or go big. And he'll hope that time goes big and sends him up into P1 of 59 is what he needs to beat. First sector has looked neat so far. He's just about avoiding the grass. A little bit of curb. That's what you want to hit. Going through that first sector. It looks flat. But here we go through that right-hander. Yeah, a tiny bit of lift. And he's got the car on absolute rails. Alfie retires. He's not going to improve on a 17.5 then by the looks. We'll check on that first sector split for Josh Owen at some point. In this second sector, F1 Mad as he comes across, what can he do? Anthrax Robin doesn't improve. He stays in P1 at the moment. Josh Owen, he says he's a while down. Yeah, he's invalidated his lap, so Josh Owen will be P2 at best. That's all he's going to get. What about F1 Mad then? It's looked quick. Is it quick enough for pole position? If he keeps it together in the third sector, but we've seen plenty of cars get it all wrong in these final 2 corners. It doesn't look like F1 Mad has done that. No, he hasn't. One more corner. He opens a DRS, and now it's a straight run. He's going to use absolutely everything he can. Is it pole? No, it's not. It's P2. He secures a front row for the moment. There's still some drivers yet to complete their lap. We've got Myth. We've also got Glock. Glock is quick, but it looks like he's 3.5 seconds down here. He is. Glock has not got the lap done. Everyone's failing when it matters. Anthrax Robin's pole position could be secured here, but what about Myth? What can he do? We've not seen any of his sector splits. A little bit of a lockup, but he's using absolutely every bit of grip that car has. Currently P5 on the third row. 16.2. He needs to find half a second worth of improvement if he wants to go through here. I think it's possible if you're looking at that delta top left of your screen. Where is he going to go? He goes pole. He takes it. It's a fantastic lap from Myth. Right at the death. The final lap in qualifying is enough to see him into the top step. P1 for Myth. Anthrax Robin denied at the last second. What a lap it is from the Aston Martin. The quickest we've seen anyone in this qualifying session at 1:15.5 is an unbelievable lap. And he manages to secure pole position. 2 tenths clear of Anthrax Robin. And there you go then. There is your top 10. Anthrax Robin coming home in P2 after setting that lap way earlier. And it looked like it would have stayed at pole position, but not quite. F1 Mad on the second row then, alongside his former teammate Josh Owen. That would be an interesting fight going into turn 1. Josh Owen, I think, would have hoped to have done a little bit more than that. Smoking Cheese in P5 as well. He will be quicker in the Grand Prix and will still be a favourite for a podium. Failing that, the race win. Tulux in P6 and Glock P7, with Rodrigo, Alfie and Jensen not setting a lap. He rounds off the top 10 in his Mercedes. But what a final qualifying session that was. The rain held out. And it meant that the Aston Martin was able to squeeze into pole position right at the last. So don't go anywhere. In just a few moments' time, we will be back for the first ever Grand Prix for Formula X. Drivers making their adjustments now. Sit tight, ladies and gentlemen. Do not go anywhere. It's the final time to focus. And make sure they've got absolutely everything spot on before this Grand Prix. Some of them may have had a race set up. Some of them may have gone for it in qualifying, hoping to use their defensive skills during the Grand Prix. Strategies will be important as well. I'm assuming, I'm not too sure yet. I believe it will be a one-stop race, unless there are safety cars, which are almost bound to happen here on the semi-street circuit. So in 5 minutes' time, we will be back for round 1 of Formula X Racing Series. So we are just moments away from the first ever Grand Prix in Formula X after an enthralling qualifying session which saw a lot of the main contenders fall by the wayside. It means we are well and truly in for a fantastic race. No rain expected. And here we go for the formation lap. It gives the guys a chance to warm up the tyres, warm up their minds. You get to see the strategy as well. So Myth, who got on pole, in fact, the whole of the top four starting on the medium compound tyre. Smoking Cheese, the only outlier, starting on the hards. So he's hoping to go long. He's going to hope for no safety car at the start then, or within the first 5 laps or anything. Anthrax Robin in P2. They'll all want a clean getaway, especially if they're all on the same strategy. Jensen as well in P10 on the hards. We've got Keiths, Owen, Dan Richards, Steve, Rolling Wheel and FaZe Walker all on the hards. Everybody else on a set of the medium compound tyre. And another thing about the formation lap, not only does it give you a chance to warm up your tyres, and if you do it incorrectly, you're going to have cold tyres to start, which means there's less grip. Also, it does mean that when the drivers form up on the grid, if they miss their marks, that is an extra few meters they're going to have to travel. They want to get as close to their white line as they can when they go and park up. Again, it's very much a risk-reward situation. And if they get it wrong, then they'll be starting the Grand Prix a few meters further back than what they would have wanted. The Aston Martin gets it into position pretty well. Anthrax Robin right on the line as well. But there will be some drivers who just don't get it right. But we are all formed up then. And we are ready for round 1. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 red lights. And away we go. Myth gets a solid getaway and alongside him we can't see anyone. Anthrax Robin already diving into the slipstream. Goes up the inside into turn 1. Does he make the move? Not quite. They're both forced onto the grass. Still side by side. Anthrax Robin and Myth off that front row start. Still going next to each other. Josh Owen waiting in the wings. But Anthrax Robin up the inside. He looks like he's got the position. Yes, he does. Great start for Anthrax Robin. Josh Owen stays in P3. F1 Mad in P4. Owen is already retired. So there's been some contact, some collisions at the back of the field. But it's all clear going out the front. Anthrax Robin took the lead. Myth had a better opening getaway, but he found that traction going down the straight. And now Josh Owen wants to take P2 as well. Josh Owen using up some of his battery already to go side by side with Myth, who now might sneak up on the back of Anthrax Robin. No, not quite. They stay how they were, but Josh Owen is showing that he is super aggressive and will want to get that move done. But Myth is already close to the back of Anthrax Robin, not close enough for an overtake. But what a start that was for Anthrax Robin, taking the lead really aggressively. They were side by side for 1.5 sectors almost. They did really, really well. There's still some scuffling at the back. Tom SYK moving positions. And it's 2 by 2. It's Lee up the inside of FaZe Walker side by side. You don't want to be going too wide around the final corner, and it's Lee knows that and he backs off. They are really going 2 by 2. Brilliant midfield battles going on then, but back up in front. Anthrax Robin still unable to increase the gap at the moment. And as it stands, Myth and Josh Owen all have DRS on each other. Changing regulations this season, so everybody gets DRS on lap 2 as opposed to lap 3. And if you're within 1 second of the car in front, you get that boost down the straights that you can see that are flashing green down on that minimap. There's a yellow flag in Sector 1, and I think JD's had a problem. He's dropped all the way down to P16. Whether there was contact there, I'm not too sure. He's now side by side with Spider, but we'll continue on this battle up in front, and Josh Owen is using that DRS that he was going to have, looking around the outside, but it's a long way to go, and he stays behind, and they're line and stern then all the way down to P10. Brilliant little start here, but Myth has had a good exit out of that chicane, and he will have a look round the outside here for the race lead going into the third sector. He gets it done. It's a brilliant move round the outside. Anthrax Robin is still there though, almost contact as they go through the right-hander, but Myth very aggressively cuts across and puts himself into the lead of this Grand Prix. There's a little bit of contact behind, I believe, there. The House of Smoke and Cheese getting involved with somebody, but Myth takes the lead back of the Grand Prix and sets the fastest lap to boot, which is beaten by a majority of the grid. Smoke and Cheese getting it in the end on the hard compound tyres. But we are shaping up for a brilliant battle for the win here today. It really could be anyone. And Anthrax Robin wants to make sure it's him. Up the inside again. Can he make the move stick? They're still side by side. There's going to be contact between these two at some point. Surely. Not yet though. Anthrax Robin gets through cleanly. And now Myth is going to have to look in his mirrors for Josh Owen in the McLaren, who wants to look up the inside and does look up the inside and gets up the inside. Josh Owen up into P2. And Myth is just falling backwards now. F1 Mad alongside wants to take the final podium position. And Myth, not only him, but his teammate is having issues as well. And Myth goes up the inside for P3. Yes, he just about holds it. But he's lost that position to Josh Owen, who's wanting now definitely to go back up and fight for P1. It wasn't the best qualifying for Josh. He would have been up there. He would have wanted to be up there for pole. It didn't quite work out for him. But he's done what he needed to from the start. He's kept it clean and he's made sure that he regains at least a few places for now. As we go back down the front straight, it's been all action then. Nobody has led the race for more than a lap at the moment. It's been absolutely nip and tuck from the front runners. We're only on lap 4 as well. Anthrax Robin is going to have to defend from Josh Owen. That's a completely different kettle of fish. Was Myth behind in the British Racing Green Aston Martin, and now it's the orange and black Arrow of McLaren. Right behind Josh waits. He bides his time. He knows that he's been quicker going through this middle sector. He gets a really nice exit off that corner that they've just gone through now. And he goes for it. And as you can see, he is close. 2/10 is the gap. He's going to be close enough for a move here. We're right on board with Myth, who's got a brilliant view, a front row seat of this battle. And Josh Owen is clearly through. He must have used some of his ERS energy recovery system. It's another thing that gives you the boost in the cars. And you only get a certain amount per lap. But Josh Owen has used it there to blast past Anthrax Robin. There's a yellow flag in Sector 3, and it's Lee, I believe. I wonder what's happened to him. He's back up and running now, but he must have made a mistake through that left-right chicane. But back up in front, Josh Owen. Currently sat in the lead and gets the fastest lap of the race as well, 1:18.9. Obviously, that will be beaten as we go along. But the times are already tumbling, and we've only just started this Grand Prix. There's another yellow flag, and there's been a big old collision down the front straight, and that could be a safety car. RST Spider was involved. He was a car that was facing backwards. I think Rolling Wheel was involved as well. Yes, he's got front wing damage, as you can see. That left front end plate of his car is gone. Rolling Wheel's got no damage from what we can see, but Steers dropped back as well. A big old collision, and Jensen has already got a 3-second time penalty for multiple warnings. And we mentioned this in qualifying. We said that it's fine making the mistake in running wide and getting your lap time invalidated in qualifying, but in the race, as soon as you get 3 warnings to your name, it's a 3-second time penalty that will go against you at the end of the Grand Prix. And considering how close we are at the moment in terms of cars neck and neck, that could move you down almost 5 or 6 positions. As Anthrax Robin, he gets the lead with a massive tank slapper on the exit, ensured that he almost lost it again. Smoking Cheese looking to move forward. He's gone up to P5 then since the beginning of this Grand Prix. But it's such a massive hold up between all of these cars. Everyone within DRS of each other through the top 8. It's brilliant racing at the moment. But Josh Owen, does he look to go up the inside? No, not quite. As the snake moves down into turn 1. Then it's a little bit of a gap before it's Alfie. And then an even bigger gap before that second train of cars with Tom SYK. A little bit of a lock-up. And there's another yellow flag. What is it for this time? I think it's the same guys as last time going through that first corner. Another yellow here, though, and I think Jensen may have made a mistake. And JD now gets a time penalty. Already 5 cars with a penalty in this Grand Prix, and we're only 6 laps in. And it's been absolutely non-stop action. 3-second penalties for all of them, as you can see. If you look at the left-hand side of your screens, you can see the positions gained. FaZe Walker, by the way, from the bottom of the grid. Oh, he's jumped up 8 places to P12. It's been a brilliant start for him. Josh Owen is up 2 already, and he could be up 3. Yes, he is. He takes the lead, and that's another different race leader in this Grand Prix. Myth has dropped 2 positions. In fact, Robin is staying where he is. Smoking Cheese has gone up 1 F1. Mad has dropped 2 positions. He's down to P5. Cheese is really making those hard tyres work at the moment. Jensen's gone up a couple positions, but he does have that time penalty that he needs to monitor throughout the rest of this Grand Prix. Josh Owen, though, now in the lead, and it's going to be really, really difficult for any of these guys to try and break the DRS. The issue is around Melbourne, which is where we are today. There's 4 DRS straights. So realistically, you can lose almost. Oh, there's a massive moment for Josh Owen, as there's been another massive moment at the back. It's Spider, sorry, that's gone round again in the RB. He's really been struggling with that first turn. I don't know if there was any contact involved. I'm not too sure. But it's another error. And it means he's all the way at the back now. And a massive chunk of front wing is missing from that car. He's going to have to stop and change his strategy. I hope for a safety car. Smoking Cheese wants to get involved. He's getting involved with Anthrax Robin. Cheese is really enabling those hards to do bits. He's doing so much on them. And he's now on the back of Anthrax Robin. He looks to make a move. It's really cat and mouse here. And Mythy's dropping like a fly at the moment. He just keeps losing so many positions. It's not because he's slow. It's just because the way it's going, every time he gets into a battle, he loses time. Josh Owen does still lead despite that moment then in the middle sector. There's another yellow flag in Sector 3. This time it's Keefs. That's a big issue. Big moment then for Keefs, and he's gone round in the Haas on the hard compound tyres. That's a big shame for him when he drops him all the way down into P15. But there's still 7 cars in this P1 train, and Josh Owen is really desperately trying to break that DRS. But as I was saying earlier before the incident, it's so difficult to break DRS round here, because there's 4 DRS straights. All you need to do is hang on just the tiniest bit going around the corners, and then you're straight there again for the DRS, which pulls you right back closer to the car in front. And speaking of pulling closer, Smoking Cheese is pulling alongside Anthrax Robin. He dummies the move. He didn't quite have enough grip around the outside. He didn't want to go for it because there's such a high chance that they will both be on the wall. He wanted to make sure that he continues going for this very long race, and he stays in P3. But it's clear to see that Smoking Cheese has a very quick turn of pace in this Grand Prix on those hard tyres. And whether that's just the driver doing so, or whether that's the hard tyres just being super quick, obviously we are yet to see. And I believe Alfie's just made a mistake. I think he went wide in the tight right-hander in the 3rd sector. He's now got Dan Richards all over the back of him. We'll ride on board with Dan Richards here, who is so close, and he'll surely go for the move. This is getting to the point now where the hard compound tyres will start to get a little bit quicker than the mediums, just because the mediums are degrading a little bit more. Again, if you're new to F1, if you haven't watched before, there's a yellow flag in Sector 1. There's more contact. It's Steve that goes round in the final corner. Really struggling, those guys at the back. But yeah, if you're new to F1, as Smoking Cheese pulls alongside, and this time he gets it done down the straight. Cheese up to P2. This could be an issue for Josh Owen on his hard compound tyre. So his hards, you get 3 different tyre choices throughout the weekend. You have a soft, a medium, and a hard compound of tyre. The soft is the quickest, but it dies out the fastest, and then the hards are the slowest, but you can use them for the longest because they last very well. So it gets to this sort of crossover point, which is around 7 or 8 laps, where the hard tyre has degraded a lot less than the mediums, and it means that they become a lot quicker. And I think we're seeing that with Smoking Cheesy. He was biding his time for sort of the opening 4 or 5 laps. And now he moves his way into the lead. The 4th different leader of this Grand Prix then so far. Smoking Cheese moves up into P1. He'll have a second bite of the DRS down this next straight in order to defend against Josh Owen. And on those hard compound tyres, I wonder if he could pull away. We'll have to wait and see. But every single lap now, though, those mediums will be getting slower. The only issue that Smoking Cheese will face, obviously, bar any safety cars, he will be pitting later than all the medium compound tyre runners, and they'll be on fresh tyres when they come out. If they're not in traffic, it means that they will be rapidly catching up to Smoking Cheese. So when Cheese eventually makes his pit stop, he will probably be around 5 seconds down, between 5 and 10 seconds down on this leading pack. And it's about making sure that he uses those fresher tyres that will be quicker than everybody else's and softer than everybody else's. And it's almost 4 wide as we go through the 3rd sector. It's 2 by 2. And Josh Owen can't quite make the move, but he's all over the back of Smoking Cheese, and he makes a mistake. He tried to find a gap round the outside that just wasn't there as F1 Mad pulls the trigger on the pit stops. F1 Mad and Glock are both into the pits then. It's an early-ish stop. It's kind of when we expected it, but if it's a 2-stop, we'll find out now. It's the hard compound tyres. He'll be going to the end on those, but clearly they know that these guys up in front are battling and battling hard, and they're just losing times. With the fresh tyres, this strategy call could work for Glock and F1 Mad. And this is why, because they're in clean air. Josh Owen and Smoking Cheese are running side by side. It's going to be slowing them down so much. Especially when you're going side by side through the corners. They're not helping each other. They're not working with each other to try and pull up the field. And I'm sure that because the trigger has been pulled on pit stops, they're going to have to respond now. I'd imagine that we'll see Josh Owen in the pits at the end of this lap. Anthrax Robin and Myth as well. Side by side. Smoking Cheese regains the lead, but he makes a massive error, and Josh Owen's gone into the back of him there. Slight contact between the two, and he's had to lift off, and it's enabled Anthrax Robin to go straight back through, and it's a double overtake, is it? Yeah! Yes, it is! What a move. They're still side by side, but surely with the inside, he'll get it done. Yes, he does. And the safety car is out. There must have been an issue somewhere else on track, and I believe there was. It's not FaZe Walker, it's his teammate Rodrigo, who has retired from the session. Has he made contact with the Ferrari? Yes, he has. The Ferrari's got no front wing. Unfortunately, no replays to be able to see what happened there, what went wrong. But obviously, a collision between Rodrigo and Tom has meant that there is a flurry in this pit lane. Anthrax Robin, Cheese, Owen, Myth, and Jensen all pulling into the pits with the safety car. It's pretty much a free pit stop. And as much as I was just saying that it was a genius tactical decision from F1 Mad and Glock to pit that early because they would have clean air and they weren't in and amongst that fighting, that has been completely undone because that safety car has meant that those guys have had a free pit stop. If it weren't for that, F1 Mad would have been in the lead of this Grand Prix. He really would have. That outlap was so fast. And despite the safety car, he's already caught onto the back of them. But we will be under the safety car now for a few laps. A chance for everybody, including myself, to catch back up on our breath. Because it has been an absolutely enthralling opening 12 laps of this Grand Prix. With 4 different race leaders. And we're still nowhere near finding out who will finish on the top step of the podium. The only issue is here for Smoking Cheese. This is what I said before the Grand Prix started. He started on those hards, which is brilliant because it means you finish strong on a quicker set of tyres. However, you're running the risk of an early safety car ruining your strategy, and this was the exact moment that he did not want a safety car because the medium runners is fine. They're coming to the end of their tyre life anyway. They get the safety car, which enables them to get that much quicker pit stop, that free pit stop, and continue their strategy as normal. Smoking Cheese, he would just lose way too much time if he didn't pit. He wouldn't have wanted to pit really, Cheese, until earliest sort of lap 16, lap 17. Probably lap 17 and 18 would have been the optimal. He wouldn't have wanted to make a pit stop until then. So his hand has been forced here. He's had to go onto the medium compound tyre. And he'll be, don't get me wrong, he'll be a lot quicker. He'll be a lot faster as this Grand Prix starts. When the safety car comes back in. But his tyres will very quickly drop off a cliff. And he will start to lose some time. So tyre management is going to be very important. Unless we have another safety car, which would save his blushes, really. And in fact, and that's the gamble of it. That's the gamble of the safety car. Knowing how competitive our drivers are, the chances are there probably will be another safety car at some point. In which case, it would massively favour Smoking Cheese. So if we're green flag running until the end of the Grand Prix, then Cheese is going to struggle and it's not benefiting him. But if we have another safety car at any point before the end of the Grand Prix, it will work absolute wonders for Smoking Cheese. And we get that message from race control saying the safety car is in this lap. So the safety car will dive into the pits. It's up to Anthrax Robin to bunch up the pack. It's all about when does he go. He'll wait, he'll bide his time before he finally pulls the trigger. It's all up to him. When will he go? Will he leave it late down the front straight, or will he bolt now before this final corner? Yeah, that's what he does. He backs up the pack just one little bit more. But Smoking Cheese is having none of it. He's right on the back of him. Will he make a move up into turn one? He thought about it. Not quite. A little bit of squabbling further behind. The two Aston Martins getting close to each other. Now Myth is right on the back of Glock. We've got FaZe Walker looking to make moves as well. The man that started from the back of the grid. And there's another safety car straight away, is there? No, I think that's just a glitch. The safety car button is still on there. JD and Spider making contact. And there's a Haas that's gone round. Keiths has gone round. Yellow flag in Sector 1. There's no safety car as of yet. But mayhem at the restart. Drivers moving back and forth. But it's Anthrax Robin who leads. Only for now as Smoking Cheese goes back up the inside. 10-second corner cutting penalty for Jensen for cutting a corner. And I wonder if he did that to avoid a collision. Maybe the stewards will look at that and wow. Smoking Cheese very nearly took out 3 cars in one. And somehow avoids the barriers himself. An unbelievable moment there for Smoking Cheese. And he very, very nearly lost the car completely. And he's down to P11. And it's gone from good to bad to absolutely even worse now for Smoking Cheese. That is not what he wanted at all. It's a poor mistake. Going through that left-right hand and with heavy fuel and probably cold tyres. It's forced him to run wide and make a mistake, and it means that now F1 Mad, the 5th race leader of this Grand Prix, now leads, and he's got a tiny little gap, and it's same resumed then. Back up in front with this fight. The only anomaly is Dan Richards, who's currently sat on 14 lap old hards. He was chancing staying out a little bit then. So whereas Smoking Cheese pitted from the hard tyres, Dan Richards knew it ruined his strategy. So he's staying out and waiting for another safety car, then potentially a yellow flag in Sector 3. And that was just Spider retiring from the Grand Prix, but Dan Richards is like the cork in the bottle at the moment. He's held Myth up for almost 1.5 seconds there, as you can see. He's now got Telux and Jensen behind, who are both very quick. It could be 3 wide into this corner. Surely Dan Richards knows this isn't his fight. Well, he knows that now as there's contact made. There's even more contact made with the Mercedes. All of them fighting to keep their car going in a straight line. And did Dan Richards get any damage there? No, I think his Ferrari front wing is okay. Back up in front though, F1 Mad is right alongside Anthrax Robin. He's more than alongside now. Anthrax Robin takes the lead of the Grand Prix back after he got it on lap 1. And now Josh Owen sides through, moves his way. Opportunistic move there for Josh Owen, back up into P2. And with just over half of the race distance completed now, people will be thinking about the final sprint, but Josh Owen's made a little bit of a mistake there. The Red Bull got right up and close and personal. Yellow flag in Sector 1. It's another Haas. The Haas have been really in the wars today. That one's Keith's again. His teammate, it's Lee, currently sat in P12 at the moment. On the hard compound tyres, Smoking Cheese making his way back up the pack as well. And it's 2x2 back up in front. Jensen getting a move done almost until Lux. Now FaZe Walker is right in the way there, and that could cause havoc for drivers behind. He got it all wrong going into the chicane. We're right on board with him. It's up the inside. It goes the Haas of Smoking Cheese. A 3-second time penalty for Dan Richards as well, who's still somehow surviving in the top 10 on 15 lap old hards. You have to say that is very, very impressive for him. Josh Owen sets the fastest lap of the race as well to boot, and stays in front, and there's battling left, right and centre. Jensen is climbing his way back up the order, but at the moment those time penalties that he's got will mean that he's not going to be anywhere in this race. 16 seconds will be added to his race time at the end, which is fine on some circuits where you get a really strung out order where the top 10 will finish sort of a minute behind each other. Here in Melbourne, they're so close. So that literally drops him to the bottom of the pack. He'd finished P16 as it stands. I'd assume the stewards will look at it because the 10-second time penalty is a rare one to have. So I'm sure the stewards will check after the race, and they may revoke it, but the 6 other seconds of time penalties, they will stay. Smoking Cheese making his way back up the order on those mediums. He needed to look after him. But now he simply cannot be in tyre saving mode. He's got to push to catch back up to that front lot. Currently in P6, he'll have the DRS as well on Tullux as we go down the straight. Anthrax Robin now with the fastest lap of the Grand Prix, a 1:18.3, beaten there by Smoking Cheese. He's not quite got enough in him to get onto the back of Tullux. Smoking Cheese really struggling with the rear. I know that's how he likes it. Some drivers prefer a little bit more understeer. Some drivers way more enjoy having a lot more turning and allowing the car to oversteer a lot more, controlling the car mid-corner. Around Melbourne, it's risky, but if it pays off, then it pays off. It's been a bit of both for Smoking Cheese at the moment. He's been brilliantly fast as a yellow flag in Sector 2. Yeah, Smoking Cheese has been brilliantly quick, but also he made that mistake, as we saw in that safety car restart, that has meant that he's all the way back down here. Never say never, of course. His chances of a race win aren't gone. However, he's definitely stunted his chances, and he's going to have to hope and pray for another safety car. Yellow flag in Sector 3. That's just some of the back markers. There's 16 drivers left in this Grand Prix from 20. So they've done a pretty good job of keeping the car in a straight line. Speaking of that, though, FaZe Walker, mistake from him as he crashed. I don't know. He must have done, because he's not in the pits. FaZe Walker is out of this Grand Prix. And as soon as I say they've done well keeping the cars on the limit, FaZe Walker retires, whether he pulled into the pits to retire or not, I'm not too sure. Smoking Cheese, it's 3 seconds worth of time penalties. But it means that the virtual safety car is out, but it was only a short virtual, as it's gone. Again, the virtual safety car, the same as the safety car, they have to drive at 40% of their race speed. Stick to a delta. No physical car gets out on track. It just slows them all down while there's danger out. And typically it's a lot shorter than a full course caution. And they are back with Anthrax Robin right round the outside, taking advantage as the safety car goes back in. A little bit of a twitch on the exit. But with 10 laps to go, it is Anthrax Robin that will take the racing line and will go across the line in the lead with 10 to go. It still really could be anybody's. We could still have a full course caution that would really change the face of this race. It's Lee making a move up into P7. I told you he was Mr. Consistent. He's done well in this race. I don't think he'll mind me saying as Jensen's retired as well. I think Jensen pulls into the pits to retire. I'm wondering if that was because of all of those time penalties. But it means now we only have 14 runners from 20. But Italy has kept it together. And he's very much kept out of trouble. And it means that despite his pace not being quick enough for a P7 finish, it means that he is there in the points thanks to the consistency. And that's exactly what you need, as Anthrax Robin is overtaken by Josh Owen. And in fact, Anthrax Robin's almost overtaken 3 times. Up the inside goes F1 Mad as well. And I'm sure there was contact between him and Josh Owen there. Ever so slightly. But it's all going wrong for Anthrax Robin. Side by side with Myth now. And he loses a position. So from P1 at the start of the lap, he's dropped all the way down to 4th now. He joins the back of the queue. It is absolutely not what you wanted. I understand that in this pack of cars, realistically, you want to be the second car rather than the first. But you definitely don't want to be last. It's not what you want at all. Josh Owen has the lead. As Smoking Cheese pulls into the pit. So clearly, those tyres were not going to be sturdy enough to take into the end. He dives into the pits for another set of mediums, so he'll comfortably see those mediums through to the end now. Currently P9, but realistically, it's a recovery job now. If he can get into P7, it'd be a good result for him. I don't think, bar any... but P6 is possible, but bar any mistake from Glock and upwards, he is going to struggle to obtain anything more than that. Josh Owen and F1 Mad, though, will be bitterly disappointed if they don't obtain the win, as Tom has left the session side by side. All of these guys fighting to be the winner of the first ever Formula X Grand Prix. It really still is a roulette regarding who is going to take this win. 4 drivers, 4 different cars, 5 different cars inside the top 5 is brilliant. It's absolutely what you want to see. It's Red Bull from McLaren, from Aston Martin, from RB in this battle that you're focusing on at the moment. All of these guys quick enough for a win. All of these guys quick enough to fight it out. All of these guys have enough talent, and all of these guys are absolutely desperate to get that win. Put their name in the history books as well. And it's F1 Mad, who is currently in P1, and it looks like at the moment it's just been a lot of swapping between P1 and P2. As Jensen retires, it's such a shame because he seems to have a pretty decent turn of pace around here, but the penalties were just too much. And Josh O pulls his way back through, overtaking his former teammate. Moving up into the lead of the Grand Prix again, and now it's all about timing. Who times their move for the lead best? Who can break away? Because it's been so tough for any of these guys. None of them have been able to create a gap at all. Anything like that. It's been a real struggle around here as Josh Owen. The big old twitch going through the second to last and final corner. JD gets a 3-second time penalty for multiple warnings. Josh Owen holds his lead for now as Myth has moved up into P2 now. He's in the top spot. Smoking Cheese sets the fastest lap of the race, so there will be an extra point from that for the fastest lap if he keeps it until the end. But it's the sugar on top of an otherwise not very nice cake. As there was a mistake there for, I believe, rolling wheel. No, I believe it was the Alpine of JD, actually. But as we were looking at that, Myth jumps up into the lead of this Grand Prix, and it would be great to see how many overtakes there'd been for the lead so far. Because there's been at least one a lap. It's been absolutely fantastic watching these guys go hammer and tong for the lead, and we still don't know who is going to get this win. The first win in Formula X. They've got to keep it really, really clean now as well. They've got to make sure they drive like angels. As soon as they go over the white line, if they get a 3-second time penalty, that is it. They're done. They're not going to break 3 seconds on these lot. You get 3 seconds added to your name, and you do not stand a chance. I think it's gotten to that point then in this Grand Prix where Josh Owen is going to hold. He's going to wait. I think he knows that he doesn't want to wait. Oh, no, he does. He goes through. I thought he was trying to work that in the sense that he will hold on and hold on. Try and overtake on the last lap. But no, it's too much of a risk for him. And he dives into P1. Myth now second. F1 Mad P3. And Anthrax Robin has not been able to do anything after being overtaken 3 times in the space of a lap, which is a real shame for him. But he's going to have to hope for some contact in front of him, some collisions maybe. It is not over and done with just yet. Four laps to go then in this Grand Prix, and Josh Owen retains the lead, and there's a little bit of a gap between the 2 cars behind, and that's because Anthrax Robin finally dug deep and got back into P3, which puts him in that position that could challenge for the win. And at least 3 of these guys are going to be disappointed. One of them especially, finishing P4 off the podium here, would be a real shame, and it looks like at the moment F1 Mad is in that position to do so. Anthrax Robin gaining on the back of Myth as well. Josh Owen has started to create a little bit of a gap. It's not enough to break out of the DRS, not at all. But maybe Myth is starting to struggle with those tyres. F1 Mad is the older tyres. They're 1 lap older than everyone else's. Apart from that, it's going to be very similar. A yellow flag in Sector 1. It's a Haas that's going slowly. And it is smoking cheese. Wow, something happened to cheese then. So he's done well to fight his way back up the pack. Up into P6, but he's made that mistake on those fresh mediums. And he's got a lot of work to do yet again. But he overtakes Alfie now into P6. But Glock is just too far away for him now. There he is at the top of your picture. Oh, that's JD actually, I do apologise. It's his teammate. Well, at the moment, Josh Owen leading the way for McLaren. And if it finishes how it is at the moment, McLaren will also lead the way in the Constructors' Championship. with Aston Martin being a close second. Big old kick at the back end there for Josh Owen. Myth is still holding on, but you can see that he's not as quick through the tricky corners. And in fact, Josh Owen is starting to pull out a bit of a gap here. So did Josh save his tyres a little bit then? Was he holding on? Because now all of a sudden Myth is 6/10 down. He's going to have to use a lot of his battery to try and regain that time. And as we go down the hill into the third sector, Anthrax Robin, if he wants to have a shout at winning this race, he's got to get a little bit closer. Yellow flag in sector 1, and once again, it's a Haas car that goes round. This time, it is Keith's. No safety car or anything, which means that we can have these final 2 laps to decide who will take the win of this Grand Prix. Josh Owen is really starting to pull away from Myth here. F1 Mad has lost DRS as well. He's dropped back. He's a second behind now. It looks like F1 Mad might be finishing in P4, then he's not doing enough at the moment. Myth in P2. Josh Owen in P1. They're line and stern still. It could be any of them. Josh Owen had left something in the tank because he pulled away during this middle sector. He just looks a little bit quicker than Myth does. And Anthrax Robin is all over the back of him, but he still can't get through. If you want to have the win, you've got to be in P2 to get that opportunity first. And he's right on the back of him as we go through this fast section now. We'll see what he can do. He looks to the inside. It will be the inside for the next corner. And he sneaks through using that slipstream with Josh Owen. He could go for Josh Owen as well here. He does go for Josh Owen as well. Side by side. You don't go side by side through there. Great racing from both of them to not make contact. And now Josh Owen is side by side with Myth. What can he do? Will he dive up the inside? Yes, he does. And Myth takes a position. A little bit of contact between the two. The Aston Martin goes sideways. And with 1 lap to go, it's now Anthrax Robin that's in the hot seat. The Haas retiring into the pits is not going to be an issue. And with 12 runners left, only 4 of them could have this win. We'll see what we can do. Anthrax Robin in the lead of the Grand Prix, and he's got a bit of a gap now to Myth with Josh Owen in P3. Will Josh sit behind, or does he want to go for the move now? Because he might have to try and get up in front to try and get close to this lead. But it's Anthrax Robin. He looks comfortable at the moment, and we know that Robin has treated his tyres a little bit better than Myth has in this Grand Prix. And Myth is struggling through this middle sector, but he's held on when it matters. This final lap, he's done a lot better, and he's so close. He's right up at the back of him. We'll have a look as well. He's got absolutely all of his ERS to play with. 60% for Josh and 60% for Anthrax. But it's going to be 3 wide on the last lap for the battle for the lead. Josh Owen right around the outside of Myth. This is for the lead of the Grand Prix. This is for the win. Myth stays ahead. Anthrax Robin drops down to P3 as Josh Owen in second. He's got 1 more DRS attempt if he gets close enough down this straight, but I don't think he will. And Myth just has to negotiate these final few tricky corners, and then he is home and dry for the first ever win. He got to be there. He has such a strong vein of form in Formula Regional Series. He did so well joining midway through. He's denied Josh Owen. He's denied Anthrax Robin. He's denied F1 Mad. And then for the first time in Formula X, Myth comes across the line to win the first ever Grand Prix. And he will lead the Constructors and Drivers' Championship. It's a brilliant drive. He timed it perfectly. He gets there in the end. Josh Owen and Anthrax Robin less than a second behind. Something would have happened to F1 Mad at the end there. It was just too little too late for him. He will finish in P4. But what a Grand Prix. That was a 4-way battle for the lead on the last lap. So Anthrax Robin go from P1 all the way down to P3. He'll be bitterly disappointed, but Myth timed that absolutely to perfection. Brilliant from him. Brilliant racing from the lot of them side by side. Only the smallest bit of contact. They drove absolutely fantastically. Glock comes home in P5. He'll be very happy with that. That's a solid haul of points for both him and Alpine. Tulux in P6 as well. After all the penalties were added up, which means Aston Martin will have a healthy lead in the Constructors ahead of McLaren. Smoking Cheese in P7. It was a race of what could have been for him today. Just too many mistakes and an unfortunate timing of the safety car meant sure He finished all the way down to P7. Alfie came P8, and it's Lee in P9. Again, Mr. Consistent doing very well, keeping out of trouble with Dan Richards, if you remember, stayed out during that first safety car on his hard compound tyres, and it's paid off. And there's only 2 runners in this Grand Prix, Rolling Wheel and JD, who did not score a point. But it's Myth once again. He just can't be beaten at the moment. He had Josh Owen done. He had Anthrax Robin done. He had F1 Mad waiting in the wings as well, but none of them could do anything. It was a fantastic race. And a brilliant first Grand Prix for Formula X. If you are watching for the first time and you liked what you saw, please make sure to follow us so you don't miss every single Friday we get going. We've got lots of races during the week as well, our F2 series. But now we'll focus our attention to the Aston Martin man, who will stand on the top step of the podium for the first time, and they spray the champagne. It's a brilliant, brilliant drive from him. Timed to perfection. It looked like he was out of it for a while when he started to drop back from Josh Owen, but no, not at all. He was merely saving himself. He was saving his ERS, and he was the only one to have 100% on that final lap, meaning he could absolutely go crazy with it. 3 different constructors on the podium, 5 different constructors inside the top 5. What a Grand Prix that was. It looks like we're not going to get the standings there, which is a real shame. We would have been able to give you a full rundown. But what we do know is that Myth starts how he means to go on. He takes the lead in the championship. He wins the opening round of Formula X. Thank you very much for joining us. Please make sure to be back here at 6:30 next week as well for round 2. Where we'll see if Myth can get yet another race win and keep that lead in the championship. Thank you so much for being with us. Please make sure to follow. My name is Binwell Judd, and we will see you all later.